we are. Hi, everyone. We're really excited to be here. I'm Dr. Funke Afolabi Brown, and we have a very, very insightful discussion today. So I am the founder of Restful Sleep MD, and I talk about all things sleep. And so when I bring my guests in, we found a way to connect their area of specialty to sleep. And so I'm really excited to have Dr. Reid Thornton here. Again, if you are joining us live, let me know in the comments. And if you're watching this on replay, let us know as well. So we'll be able to come back. And if you have any questions or anything, we'll be able to answer them. And so really, really excited to have Dr. Ruth Reid Thornton here, who is an incredible resource. She is a rehabilitation specialist, but I know I will not, like I said before we jumped on, I know I won't be doing it justice. So welcome. Thank you so much for coming on and talking to us. But Dr. Ruth, I would love it if you introduced yourself.
Okay, well, first, I just want to thank you so much. It's an honor to be here on your platform. Thank you, very gracious of you. And hopefully I can share information that your audience can use. As you said, I'm Dr. Ruth Reid Thornton. I'm board certified in physical medicine and rehab. Less well-known name is physiatry. And I also am board certified in holistic and integrative medicine. And I have an online practice. It's basically a telehealth coaching practice for people with chronic pain called Chronic Pain Rescue.
Awesome. I love that. Chronic pain rescue. Because are your clients mainly women or men, old, young, or do you just see everyone?
Yeah, I see just about everyone. I don't really deal with pediatrics, but all adults, and it's very even in terms of male, female, and all types of causes of pain. Chronic pain. Chronic pain is when pain has lasted at least 3 to 6 months, and it's usually associated with other things. It's not just the pain, but it's affecting their sleep, affecting their appetite. Sometimes they've lost weight, gained weight. They have depression, it's a whole kind of syndrome going along with when we say someone suffers from chronic pain. And I know a lot of times, at least in the medical field, when people say chronic pain or think about chronic pain management, some people go to, oh, you mean opioid management. That's not what this is. So if people are looking for opioids, I'm not the one to go to. I don't think that's the best approach for chronic pain. I don't think it's the most helpful in getting them out of chronic pain. In fact, for some people, it actually increases the physiologic changes that happen with chronic pain happen also because of opioids. And we can get into that, but so this is really a holistic and integrative approach. I've seen it work for many, many people. People are surprised that simple things like changing your diet, getting out and exercising can actually help. So that's the approach.
And, I think that's a perfect segue to what we're talking about today. And I had a little bit of a hard time finding like a catchy title, right? I wanted us to cover chronic pain and how it impacts sleep, and how our diet can impact pain and also improve our sleep. And I know you talk about an anti-inflammatory diet. So first, maybe we could delve more into how does pain impact our sleep and what that cycle is like.
Right. So, yeah, when normally when there's not pain, sleep is our time to restore. You know this more than me. And unfortunately, what can happen when people have chronic pain, that sleep could get interrupted. Or with chronic pain, we know that there are stress hormones, cortisol, and others that are heightened at night, and those are normally low at night. Because they're also involved with being awake. They're kind of like the hormones that help us when we wake up. They go down when we're going to sleep. The levels go down, but with chronic pain, inflammation, those levels are higher, and with them being higher, you're not able to get a good night's sleep. I'm so sorry. Just a moment. Just a moment. Okay. I apologize. I didn't
No
want that to
problem.
keep ringing.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you're having increased stress at night, also have decreased ability to fall asleep,
Yeah.
or you may a theory, and I say a theory because I'm not sure about the proof of it. I do know that I've read it. Because your metabolism is running at a higher rate during the night with chronic pain, your metabolism running at a higher rate, you're breaking down, your fuel, etc., and you get hypoglycemic. Your blood sugar goes low. When your blood sugar goes low, you may wake up at night. It may not be that the pain wakes you up. You wake up at night not knowing why you're waking up. And so one of the things I suggest to people if they're having trouble waking up during the night is having something that's protein before going to bed, maybe some nuts or a piece of meat, just something that your body's going to take time to break that down, takes time to break down the protein. And so your blood sugar level should remain steady during the night. And with that, you won't have that dip in your blood sugar. You won't wake up. So I always just suggest that as a way to help people stay asleep if that's their presentation, that they have trouble, that they wake up early. Yeah.
That's very remarkable, because interestingly enough, that's one of the common reasons why even a lot of women wake up in the middle of the night. Their mind isn't racing. Sometimes they may not necessarily have hot flashes or environmental changes. Their child isn't waking them up. Sometimes it's low blood sugar, low blood glucose. It's a cause of nighttime wakings. And that's one thing that we usually would say, have a, high protein snack before bed. Nothing too heavy, but just enough for your body to kind of keep that blood sugar steady over the course of the night. So thank you so much for highlighting that. And we're really going to be focusing on this diet. Like, how does diet, that's number one, impact pain? And then what in the world is anti-inflammatory diet?
Okay. So yeah, well, just to give a explanation, most of our standard American diet, the SAD diet, it's a lot of processed foods, a lot of preservatives, a lot of sugar, salt, fat, because the food industry has studied and they recognize, we tend to want to eat more of those things. They don't necessarily exist in nature in those levels, and our taste buds are attracted to more salt and more sugar and more fat, or greasy, whatever. So we may tend to eat more of those foods. The problem is, our guts, and in fact our whole bodies, we are actually more microorganisms than we are ourselves. We don't know that because we don't feel them. They're just a part of our systems. But our bodies are covered, and our GI lining is covered with microorganisms. The healthy ones, which are the ones we want, help our bodies. They work symbiotically with us. They help our immune system. They help us fight disease. They help fight cancer. They help keep us healthy. The problem is they exist on, or they thrive on the foods that are actually healthy for us. So when we're eating fruits and vegetables, we're eating things that are healthy, that's also feeding that microbiome in our system and helps us overall. But when we're eating those foods that are not healthy, that's supported by the microorganisms that are not healthy, those things that we call germs, those things which we don't want, and that can produce a whole lot of inflammation. Our inflammatory system is really part of our immune system. It's part of, say, if you cut yourself, we all know that if you cut yourself, there's inflammatory cells that come in the area. There may be a little bit of swelling, redness, but the whole idea is that it's bringing in clotting factors, platelets to help close off and heal that wound. Or if we have an infection, it's a similar process. the different, there's a lot of different factors and cells that
Mhm.
come in to try to fight that disease.
Yeah.
Problem is, if we're not putting the right things in our body that help support that system, it can kind of go awry, it can go
Yeah.
off, and we can end up having too much inflammation when, you know, we instead of it bringing to the conclusion the healing process, we kind of remain in that inflamed situation, or what they call, as far as pain goes, sensitization, a central sensitization, what's going on in the central nervous system, or peripheral sensitization, you know, what's happening with our peripheral nerves and tissue to keep the inflammation going. And we know that inflammation is sort of the basis of all our chronic illnesses, not just pain, but diabetes, heart disease, cancer, all have a basis in inflammation. So it helps our bodies, you know, besides just taking medications, which we're prone to think just medications. But if you think about, you're not going to eat medications 24/7. You know, you also have food that either is going to help you heal or be against you and hurt you. So if you can eat more of the things that your body needs, it's going to help your body do what it does, because our bodies are self-healing.
Yeah.
You know, we just have to give it the right tools.
We just have to give it the right tool.
Yeah.
That's
Water is anti-inflammatory too, so making sure we're drinking enough water makes a difference.
Yeah. And so this is not just about pain. That's what I'm sensing from this. This is not just about pain. Pain is one aspect, but really reducing that, our body's inflammation, is it plays a huge role. And when we even bring back sleep into this, because of the high cortisol, our inflammatory system is revved up when we're not getting enough sleep. So it becomes this vicious cycle. Now you have inflammation because of all the pain and things, and then you have from stress and not sleeping well. And so it's a vicious cycle, because your pain threshold then, of course, is lower. And so the more likelihood of then having more sleep disturbances. But if we can interject, knowing that, yes, addressing the pain, addressing the underlying issues, you know, if there's insomnia, other sleep things, you know, working on that. But diet is something that's going to be consistent. Like, we're always going to hopefully eat. And so how do we use food for healing? And so I just love that really holistic perspective to ward off disease, to help with pain, and to help with our sleep, because if we can lower that inflammatory cascade, then it might potentially help our sleep as well.
Yes. In fact, I wanted to share, there's a study that was done many years ago. It was conducted by Loma Linda University in Guam. The nation of Guam found that they had a epidemic of diabetes mellitus, similar to us, you know, but they thought it was because, you know, back in the 40s or 50s, whenever that was, they did nuclear testing. The U.S. did nuclear testing near them, and they thought, oh, well, yes, this is what, ever since then, we've had diabetes, you know, outbreak here. But it wasn't about the nuclear testing. It was the introduction of our Western diet, you know.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
It happened about the same time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they did an experiment. Half the people, the controls, just took their medications. For them, this, as I said, it was about diabetes, but many of them suffered from things like high cholesterol and high blood pressure. So they put the experimental group on a diet of an anti-inflammatory diet, made lots of fruits and vegetables, poultry, fish, you know, taught them how, you know, really to eat a healthy diet. And they walked twice a day for 30 minutes. Within a week's time, the people started wondering what was going on with them, because they were having bowel movements every day, and they had never experienced that. They normally went like once a week, and they wondered what's going on. It was that made them afraid, but that was actually normal. And the other thing is, within a week or two, they noticed the little aches and pains they had in their joints were gone. You know, they just felt a lot better. They were sleeping better. Actually, after 3 months, most of them no longer needed medication. They didn't need
Wow.
their diabetes medication, their high blood pressure, their cholesterol medication. All of that was able to be reversed with just changing the diet and walking 30 minutes twice a day.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. And so then what foods would you say we should include in our diet when it comes to really prioritizing an anti-inflammatory diet? What are some examples?
Right. So, like I say, if you, the food pyramid or whatever is kind of been updated. So they're recommending 5 or 7 or 9 different fruits or vegetables a day. I always just tell everybody 9. That was based on whether it's a child or male or a female. I figure if everybody has 9, that's great,
Yes.
because the thing is, our soil has been depleted over the decades. And so the amount of nutrients per, that veggie or that fruit is not the same as it used to be. That's the reason why we're having to recommend having more to get the same amount of nutrients from our diet as we used to. And it's really not just about the vitamins, because I know some people, take vitamins and minerals, and that's fine. I think that's healthy to do. I have no problem with doing that, but you still should have the healthy foods because you need the fiber. And there's a lot of phytonutrients other than the main vitamins we think of. There's other substances that are anti-cancer, anti-inflammation substances that, that we can benefit from. So, or helps our eyes, or, our vision, there's so many different things in fruits and vegetables. So that's what I would say. And if you do eat meat, I recommended to have more poultry as opposed to red meat. Red meat can create free radicals, which is going to be, it's counter to, it's sort of like a part of that inflammatory process. So the free radicals kind of attack our joints. They get in places that you don't want. So avoiding red meat like beef, or perhaps if you have it from from some other countries, they don't put all that stuff that we put in their beef. So it can be healthy if it's coming from maybe a developing nation, whereas here, no, it's got a bunch of crap in it, hormones that they give it to make it grow faster, and things that are not going to be healthy to you. So poultry, fish, at least twice a week. The smaller fish have less mercury. That's the only problem with fish. It's not a really good thing to have every single day, because then you're increasing the amount of mercury that you're being exposed to, and you don't want that either. So, the recommendation is fish just twice a week, or having omega-3 fatty acids, that comes in capsules, and you can get that there, or flaxseed oil, also. And as I said, having enough water,
water. Water. Well, this is incredible. So I'm hearing, definitely a fair share of fruits and vegetables, poultry, avoid red meat because of the release of free radicals, which can further worsen inflammation. Fish, but then not too much fish, maybe more of, you can also do omega-3 fatty acids or flaxseed.
Right. I neglected a couple of things as well. Just a handful of nuts a day. Not too much, because if you have too many nuts, you actually can have too much fat. Even though it's a healthy fat, but if you have too much, it can cause heightened cholesterol if you're having too much. But and nuts can be kind of addictive. At least I think they are. So if you can limit yourself to just one handful, that's good. And if you eat
how big a handful? I'm just asking for a friend.
Oh, hopefully you don't have too big a hand. And also with breads, grains, you want to have whole grains, as opposed to, over 100+ years ago, they found out they can keep these foods on the shelves longer if they bleach it, take out the nutrients out of it. But then you're really just having sugar. You're really just taking sugar when you're just having white bread, white rice. So if you can have whole grain breads, brown rice. I
Brown
know some
rice.
people don't like the texture of brown rice. The basmati brown is
Mm.
not as it's a little softer,
Yeah.
so people really want to try brown rice. They don't know that they like it, or they know they don't like it. They might try the basmati brown rice, because
Okay.
it's a more natural form. That's the way
Mm.
rice is. We've
Mm.
been seeing white rice so long, we think that's the way it comes.
I know. Yeah, that's true. Oh, we have quite a number of options here, and I just love this. And the beautiful thing is, with all this, we could try out so many recipes, right? So,
Absolutely.
because the idea is to make it fun, right?
Yes.
Even
Yeah.
though we're using food as medicine, but we
Mhm.
can create ways by which, it becomes something that's enjoyable for us. How
Right.
about foods? So I know you had mentioned some foods to avoid. So a lot of processed foods we want to avoid. White, bleached, high sugar containing, too much red meat. Is there anything else I'm missing?
Yeah, you want to avoid fried foods, which
Mm.
taste good.
Yeah, it does.
But yeah, they're not healthy for you, having all that
Mm.
fat in that way.
Hmm.
So fried foods, we always said salty, if they're very
Mm.
salty foods. If you do buy processed foods, try to buy it without, look at the label. Almost everything has high fructose corn syrup.
Mm.
High fructose corn syrup does not exist in nature. It is
Mm.
man-made. And it is not a normal sugar for our bodies to
Mm.
process. In fact, it causes our blood sugar to go way up, and
Yeah.
therefore you have your insulin surge when you have it. And I don't know why. Maybe it's very cheap. Maybe that's the whole
Mm.
thing, is that
I
it's
think
cheaper
so.
than just using regular sugar. So a lot of companies put it, and sometimes they try to fool you. They'll just put corn syrup on the
Mm.
ingredients. So if you don't see the high fructose, if it's just corn syrup, it's still
Still.
it's still high fructose corn syrup. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like when we're grocery shopping, really keeping an eye on that label and
Hmm.
reading what the contents are. And I
Yes.
always say, if you can't pronounce some of the stuff in there, it might be
Yes.
an indication to
Yes.
stay clear, or at least
Exactly.
minimize the
Exactly.
quantity of what you're getting.
Right, right, absolutely. And people are, concerned. Unfortunately, our society seems like whatever's healthy for you costs so much more money. What's cheap
Yeah.
is almost free.
It's so
What
sad.
what's
Yeah.
what's cheap and not good for you, not healthy, that's easy to
Mhm.
get. And it's a
Yeah,
shame,
it
right?
is. It is.
Um, but you can save money when you're getting frozen, uh,
Mm.
veggies, and that way
Mm.
it's lasting longer, and it's not
Longer
not so
costing.
expensive.
Hmm.
Not going to spoil on you because it was
Mm.
frozen. Because that's the
I
other thing
know.
too, is these foods, they're the healthy stuff, it goes right away. And that's why it's
Mhm.
funny. I shouldn't name them. I'm sorry, I'm naming them. But I think McDonald's fries taste wonderful, but in Sweden, they're illegal. They cannot make the
Mm.
fries the same way here as they do there,
Oh my God.
because of how they process it here, and they will not
Mm.
have genetically modified foods there.
Mm.
So
I
that
didn't know
tells you
that.
something about it,
Oh my gosh, it does. And it
Yes.
is sad because when we think about this, number one, a lot of things, right? There's sleep inequities, right? It's clearly been shown in research, there are racial differences when it comes to sleep. So sleep in Black, in underrepresented minority, sleep in people of low socioeconomic status is worse.
Mhm.
And these same group of people struggle with, again, access to healthy, nutritious foods. So they
Yes.
have higher inflammation because of what they're putting in their system. And then they're in communities where it's just hard. There's noise pollution, there's air pollution, there's light pollution. And
Mhm.
you think about the prevalence of obesity in that population. You think about the prevalence of just chronic pain, mood issues, cancer.
Mhm.
So it's unfortunate, like you said, for something that we know has so many benefits, i.e., healthy food, is sometimes inaccessible or difficult to access
Exactly.
for people that need it the most. And so
Right.
I definitely am with you on that.
Right. And I do recommend if people have access to a farmer's market, that's a
Mm,
great way
yeah.
to get local produce,
Mm,
especially when it's in season. It can be a lot
yeah.
less, than you might pay in the store.
Yeah.
I know sometimes they have, um, I think they're called food boxes or something like that. You can get like a monthly, I don't know, maybe you pay $30. I'm not sure how much money, but you would get whatever's in season,
Mm,
a box of that month, and
mm,
you might get something you never heard of,
yeah.
and you kind of have to look up, well, how do I cook this?
Yeah.
What is this good with? Things like that. So like you said,
Yeah.
you can kind of, if you make it into a kind of a learning and a fun thing for you and your family, might, just be a good way to get your kids interested in
Yeah.
eating healthy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you for providing that. And what would you say, we're winding down now, and this has been really insightful. We've kind of talked through the connection between chronic pain, inflammation, and how that can affect our sleep and vice versa, honestly. And we've gone through some examples of really healthy, anti-inflammatory foods that's nourishing for our bodies and helpful for our health. And then also we talked about things that we probably should avoid in our diet. Really, I think the thought about how fries are manufactured in McDonald's in the US compared to Sweden is not going to leave me anytime soon. And also just some tricks and tips in terms of how to make this more accessible. Farmers markets, especially in the summer, I think it's a phenomenal place to try things. And of course, sometimes it takes time for our taste buds to adjust to new tastes, but then
Yes.
making this an experiment, making this like a sort of like an adventure, I think will definitely help. Any
Mhm.
other thoughts when it comes to just this? I'm thinking of that woman. I work with busy moms who are trying to do everything. I mean, fast foods are easy, they're convenient, the kids like them, nobody complains.
Right.
Yet, she's trying to make that decision for herself and her family to make the
Right.
best choices when it comes to diet. And maybe she has issues sometimes by some women that I work with may have pain, anxiety, fibromyalgia, things like that. So knowing that we can use food as a way to sort of bridge the gap, but how can we make this practical for that woman?
That's a very good question. I love that question. And I mean, thank God my kids are grown. But I do know that sometimes people just decide to make 2 or 3 meals on one
Mm,
day,
yeah.
that you can put in the freezer. And that way
Mhm,
you have for the week, hopefully.
mhm,
Um, and you got to be easy on yourself. You can't always do one thing.
mhm.
Sometimes you do have to go pick up stuff, but maybe you can pick up something healthy.
Yeah.
Maybe if you get pizza, make sure there's some veggies on the pizza.
Mm,
I mean, yeah,
mm,
not to be too hard on yourself trying to
yeah.
do, but if you can make things ahead, even I know, let's say you get onions and bell peppers and maybe zucchini squash, yellow squash, you could cut them ahead of time and put them
Mhm,
in mason jars. And that
mhm.
way, when it's time to cook, you just take it out. You don't have to spend the time
Cut
cutting
them
them
up.
because they're
Mhm,
already pre-cut.
mhm, mhm.
Those are things that can kind of help. Casseroles,
Yeah.
you can make some, freeze some, you
Yeah.
know. Those are ways to kind of make it doable so
Mm,
that your family's eating health. And I really hope that people will start their kids early because,
mm,
what we eat is so central. It's not just about nutrition, right?
mhm,
What we're used to, what our culturally, the
mm,
smells, the fellowship, the
mm,
food is important.
mhm.
So how can we make healthy food part of our normal
Mm.
lifestyle so that
Yeah.
their kids grow up liking the things that are healthy, and
Absolutely.
not rejecting them because they didn't grow up with them.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
have to give our kids a better chance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, thank you. And thank you for highlighting that meal prep, meal prep, meal prep. I think it's definitely worth its weight in gold when it comes to being intentional. Otherwise, we're reaching for what's most convenient. So
And what
thank
I
you
want to
so
say
much.
too
Yeah.
is getting rid of the sodas. They are full of
Yes.
sugar. They're
Sugar.
really
Mhm.
not good. And
Yeah.
I get really, I cringe. I see people with their little
Mm.
babies drinking soda.
I
Don't do
know.
that. You know, sugar
Yeah.
is very addictive. People
Yeah, it
don't
is.
realize it is addictive.
Mm.
They did an experiment with rats. They got them
Mm.
addicted to cocaine, and then they gave them the choice of having cocaine versus sugar. They chose the sugar.
Oh my
So it's
gosh.
more addictive than cocaine. So
Yeah.
yeah, we want to
Mm.
try to avoid having lots of that at
Yeah.
once. It's not good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would say, as we, I say as we round up, and this has been just so valuable. I think, wherever you are, even if, kids have been having, McDonald's 5 nights a week and soda and, all that, wherever you are, the important thing is just really starting with one habit and then just building on it. Because sometimes when we try to do all these things and change overnight, it gets overwhelming and nothing gets done.
I
So I
agree.
love this. Decide, okay, you know what, we'll replace one of those meals with nutritious meal, and then we'll build on that and have
Mhm.
the kids involved in preparation,
Yeah.
involved in picking out a recipe, especially when they're older, and really just take it from there. So this has been so, so helpful. Thank you so much, Dr. Ruth. But where can we find you? Where can people work with you and learn more about the work you do?
Yes, sure. So my website is Chronic Pain Rescue, www.chronicpainrescue.com. I'm also on social media, Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, and Instagram, and that's at Chronic Pain Rescue. If anyone would like a free phone consultation, I do those. You can find that on the social media platforms and schedule, or they can go to my website to schedule to work with me. I'm online. They can, be in the comfort of their home, and we can see each other, see how we can work together to get them out of their chronic pain.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This has been very, very, very helpful. And, if you're out there, we've talked about pain, we've talked about sleep. If you're struggling with either one, you know where to go. Check out the work Dr. Ruth does. And really, you don't have to struggle alone. And if you're having sleep issues, whether it's driven by pain or anything else that's disrupting your sleep, then reach out to me on restfulsleepmd.com and let's get you sleeping, because a well-rested mom can literally rule the world, and I'm here for all of it. All right. Thanks again, and see you all next time.